rocks. They are everywhere. If they could talk to us, what would they tell us about the past? Everywhere you go, there are multitudes of rocks. And there are rounded ones and jagged and broken up rocks. Some people believe they are millions of years old. But what does science teach about their age and how they really got there? If you could start a river about anywhere, the river would not so much tumble in new rocks into the place where you find them, but uncover already rounded rocks that were already there by a flood. Most of what we call river rocks are actually flood deposits. Here we are on the old Blewett Pass Highway, Highway 97. We are told by some experts in geology that the Columbia River came through here about 15 million years ago and meandered through the Kittitas area and washed these river rocks into their current place that we see now. But is this evidence of a river? Or is this a giant mud flow? The standard view that rivers tumble or wash in all the rocks that you see in a riverbed is becoming a huge problem for some secular scientists. Another standard view by many secular or uniformitarian geologists is one of many contradictions, because they believe on one hand, many dinosaurs were buried by a river and then fossilized over millions of years. Then on the other hand, they say that rivers carve out canyons like the Grand Canyon. How does a river do both at the same time? But then they want to tell us that little tiny rivers will erode canyons 1 mile deep and 18 miles wide. Rivers that erode cannot bury, and rivers that transport rocks into their current position do not erode canyons. Now to qualify a few things. It is true that if a river moves fast enough, it can move rocks, as this river at Rainbow Falls, Stehekin, Washington. When the river is moving with enough volume and speed, you can actually hear the rocks falling and hitting the bottom of the falls. But here is the whole point. If you could drop in a river just about anywhere, that river would expose rocks as much as it would tumble the rocks. There is not like some endless supply of rocks at the beginning of the river. So where are these rocks coming from? The only reasonable explanation that I can think of is that they were already there, deposited by a huge deluge, and only if the water is flowing fast enough does the river roll rocks. So the whole point is, whether a river or a creek has the power to roll rocks, those rocks were already there before the river. So therefore, all these so-called river rocks in the Chelan and Kittitas counties are not river rocks at all. They are giant, colossal flood deposits. And if there ever was a river that flowed through there, at one time, those rivers simply rolled them around, not transported them in. Now, there is an active gold mine in Kittitas County that I visited. Now, they blasted a very deep hole into the hillside and removed multitudes of giant rounded rocks, many times the size of basketballs. Those giant boulders are actually flood deposits, not river rocks. So what came first, the river or the river rocks? Well, obviously it was the rocks. And they are not river rocks at all, they are flood deposits.